There's not one right way to add a modifier to stairs. You'll have to get creative with combining site modifiers. Let's look at a few possible solutions for our example. So essentially, when you're trying to blend two modifiers together, sometimes using the slab modifier does not allow you enough flexibility to get that done. So I'm simply going to come over here to the path, and I'm going to just turn this into a slab. So now there is no modifier associated with that. Let's go ahead and update this and see what it looks like. So that looks pretty good, but it looks good because we got lucky in this particular case. And in some cases, once you've updated that, if there's no modifier up here associated with this walkway, you might end up having terrain model going across this walkway. So let's go ahead and add a modifier here, just so we could make sure that that wouldn't happen to us. So I'm going to come over here and I am going to gray snap others because I want to be able to see where this last modifier starts and stops. So I'm going to come over here and make another shape for a modifier. Go up to Landmark, Create Objects from Shape, Site Modifier. So I've got a pad up here at the top with no slope, and then where the sidewalk is, I have a pad with a slope where the elevation matches both the top of the sidewalk as well as the top of the walkway. So this is looking pretty good. Like theoretically, it looks like it should work, but I know it's not going to work. I'm actually going to get that moire effect up here for the walkway to the house. So let's go ahead and just demonstrate that real quick and do an update. And so my pathway has sort of disappeared, and that is a problem. So I'm simply going to come over here and select on that piece of hardscape, and I can fix that by coming over here, and for the thickness, I need the full 7 inches so that it intersects right here at the bottom of the riser right there. But I'm going to come over here and just add 1/10 of an inch. And then for the elevation, and remember, this is a hardscape that does not have a site modifier associated with it. We're just looking at a 3D hardscape right here. And so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add that same 1/10 of an inch. And there you go. You can see that this looks correct now. So essentially what I have is I have a hardscape up here for this path, and then I have a collection of auto hybrids that were created from extrudes down here to represent the stairs, but neither of those are actually modifying my site model. So the modifiers are, and let's go ahead and gray everything else out. So the modifiers are pads. The pad up here at the very top is just a flat pad, whereas the pad for the stairs is a pad with a slope where the elevation matches the pad at the top as well as the sidewalk down here at the bottom. And so you can kind of see how that wraps around, but it's important to pay attention to the fact that this pad with the slope modifier, it needed to go back. So it doesn't end with the stairs, it actually goes further into the hardscape that's flat. And mathematically, where that is important as well, because, take a look at this. So the distance into our upper pathway that we needed to go with this pad with the slope modifier is the same distance as one of our treads. So we needed to know that in order to make this work. Otherwise, having that distance off a little bit, it would have changed the angle of our slope, and then we might have had terrain that was crossing over where the lowest points of our risers are. And once again, I'm going to have to get rid of the slab modifier. So we're just going to change this to a slab, and then go back into a top plan view. Over here into my drawing area, and I'm going to draw another site modifier. And then for this one, I do actually need a slope. So I'll go ahead and leave that slope definition on. I'm going to reposition this. Okay. And then where this arrow is, my elevation at end, I actually need to drop that down. I believe it's going to be 7 inches for that top one, but we can come over here and verify. So it looks like that site modifier went on the wrong design layer. Let me clean this up real quick so that we can gray out that layer and take a look at it. And I got that wrong. So it's actually going to be, for the end elevation, I just need to add another inch in, because the elevation for this pad with the slope at the very top is 2 feet 6 inches. And so now I'm going to come back over here. We'll turn everything back on. I'll go ahead and click on my site model and update. And so now that works out correctly because I have my 2 modifiers. They touch and they're at the same elevation, but you can see this is a little bit different from the example we did before, because what I did was I sort of blended the grade between the top of this walkway down to the bottom. But as you can see, there are multiple different ways to kind of finesse this so that we can mold the site model so that we've got our stairs showing correctly and that it blends into different hardscapes that are also in our site model. So the key things to keep in mind when we're working with stairs is that we're going to use a pad with a slope modifier. There we go. So there's our pad with a slope modifier, and we need to make sure that we get the elevation at the top correct as well as the bottom correct. And when we're creating our stairs to begin with, that the risers and the treads, so the risers all need to be the same height and the treads all need to be the same length in order to get a continuous slope so that our site modifier will work. So we have, here we have our pad site modifier with the slope set up correctly. And then we need to figure out some way to transition it to other hardscape elements in our file. And usually the best thing is going to be to, instead of using the slab modifier associated with the hardscape, is going to be to create your own site modifier and sort of blend the two. But the key thing here is that the elevation, wherever this second modifier touches the pad with the slope modifier, the elevation needs to be identical in order for that to work.